eastern Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley. Here, at this archaeological site, stand the ruins of Heliopolis, built in the 4th century BC, the ancient city of Baalbek, named after the early Canaanite deity Baal.
Baal is the god of life, the god of the sky.
Hidden beneath the sun-baked plains of Lebanon's Bekaa Valley lies a mystery that defies everything we thought we knew about human history. Stones weighing 800 tons, cut with such precision that modern engineers shake their heads, fitted together without mortar, without gaps, in a foundation that has held for 2,000 years. Scholars called it Roman, a comfortable story that fit neatly into textbooks, but the Romans could not have built this. Not even close. How were these impossible blocks moved? Who had the knowledge, the technology, the vision, and why did they vanish without a trace? Now, artificial intelligence has examined these stones in ways humans never could. Every simulation fails. Every calculation ends in the same conclusion. It should not exist. And yet it does. What patterns are hidden in this precision? What civilizations rose, built, and disappeared without leaving records? What warnings or truths have we been ignoring for millennia? Today, we're diving into Baalbek, not the temples you've seen in photos,
Lebanon, and so it's a dangerous place. One ancient site on Earth that is evidence of a lost, ancient, advanced civilization.
but the impossible foundation beneath them, the secrets it guards, and the data that is rewriting our understanding of ancient engineering. By the end of this episode, you'll realize that history is far stranger, far deeper, and far more unsettling than you ever imagined. Are we witnessing the work of a lost civilization, or are these stones pointing to something even bigger, something we are only beginning to comprehend? The place that should not exist. Driving through Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, travelers pass vineyards and farms and families selling fruit by the roadside. The landscape is beautiful and ordinary, the kind of place where life moves slowly and the land still dictates the rhythm of each day. Then Baalbek appears on the horizon, and ordinary disappears. Massive columns thrust toward the sky, Roman temples that should feel ancient, but somehow do not, because underneath them is something older. Something that makes Rome look like yesterday. Most visitors walk straight to the Temple of Jupiter, drawn by the 6 remaining columns that each stand over 20 meters tall, rising like sentinels against the Lebanese sun. The temple is genuinely impressive, a testament to Roman ambition and engineering skill. But beneath the Roman grandeur lies what really matters: the foundation. 3 stone blocks sit side by side at the base of the western wall. Archaeologists call them the trilithon. Each block stretches 19 meters long, stands 4 meters high, and runs 3.5 meters deep. Each one weighs approximately 800 tons. 800 tons. That is heavier than a fully loaded jumbo jet. Actually, it is heavier than 3 jumbo jets combined. And these blocks are not rough-cut boulders stacked carelessly by workers who did not know better. They are precision cut, fitted so tightly together that you cannot slide a piece of paper between them. No mortar holds them in place. No gaps allow water or roots to work their way inside and gradually force the stones apart. Just stone on stone, locked in an embrace that has lasted thousands of years through earthquakes, wars, and the relentless erosion of time. Half a kilometer away from the temple complex, carved into a hillside, sits the quarry where these giants were born. And here is where the mystery deepens considerably. 3 unfinished megaliths lie abandoned at various stages of extraction, frozen in time like a sentence cut off mid-word.
Lebanon. Here, in the fertile Bekaa Valley, stands what many consider
The largest, known locally as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighs an estimated 1,000 tons. Next to it, discovered only in 2014, rests an even bigger monster. 1,650 tons, still partially embedded in bedrock, the largest worked stone ever found anywhere on Earth. Tool marks score their surfaces, evidence of labor interrupted. But why did the work stop? The stones show no cracks, no flaws that would make them unusable. The quarry was not destroyed by earthquake or flood. Workers simply set down their tools one day and never came back. The blocks remain where ancient hands left them, waiting for a lifting operation that is now millennia overdue. The Roman problem. For centuries, the official story went like this. Romans built Baalbek. End of discussion. The Temple of Jupiter was constructed during the reign of Emperor Augustus around the 1st century BCE. Rome was at its peak, conquering territories and building monuments that demonstrated imperial power to the world. Baalbek was one of their grandest projects, a statement carved in stone at the eastern edge of their empire. Roman engineers were brilliant. They invented concrete. They built the Pantheon with its massive unsupported dome. They created water systems so sophisticated that some still function today. Given enough manpower and enough time, surely they could move a few big rocks. That is what historians said. That is what textbooks taught. That is what everyone believed. Because believing otherwise meant opening a door that nobody wanted to open. But some researchers noticed things that did not add up. French archaeologist Pierre Montet, working at the site in the 1920s, observed something strange about the trilithon blocks. They showed no Lewis holes, the carved sockets Romans used to grip and lift stones. No pivot points, no scaffolding marks.
Extraordinary by its size, 7,000 meters squared. Extraordinary also because of the wide range of discoveries.
Nothing that matched standard Roman construction technique. The stones looked like they had been placed in one smooth, continuous motion, using methods that left zero archaeological fingerprints. Then there were the calculations. Engineers independent of archaeological consensus started running the numbers, and their conclusions were deeply uncomfortable. The physics simply did not work. Moving an 800-ton stone with documented ancient technology, wooden rollers, hemp ropes, thousands of workers pulling in coordination required forces that exceeded what any known ancient system could generate. Friction coefficients, tensile strength limits, load distribution mechanics. The math failed every test. One engineer calculated it would take over 40,000 people pulling in perfect synchronization just to move one stone, and that assumes ideal conditions that never actually exist in reality. The largest cranes in the modern world, the ones that lift sections of bridges and oil rigs, max out around 20,000 tons under perfect conditions, with hydraulics and computers and steel cables and teams of engineers calculating every angle. Moving an 800-ton block horizontally across uneven ground, then lifting it onto a platform with millimeter precision, pushes the limits of what even current technology can achieve. And someone did it thousands of years ago, without engines, without computers, possibly without even the wheel as engineers understand it. When AI arrived at Baalbek for 2,000 years, Baalbek refused to give up its secrets. Empires studied it. Engineers measured it. Legends grew around it. But no one could make the stones talk. Not until artificial intelligence learned to ask the right questions. In 2019, the Lebanese Directorate General of Antiquities partnered with the German Archaeological Institute to launch the most comprehensive technological survey the site had ever seen. This was not another expedition with measuring tapes and notebooks. This was different. They brought LiDAR scanners that fire millions of laser pulses per second, measuring surfaces with sub-millimeter precision. Ground-penetrating radar that sees through stone and soil to reveal hidden structures. High-resolution three-dimensional imaging that captures every scratch, every tool mark, every imperfection. And machine learning algorithms trained to recognize patterns that human eyes cannot detect. The goal was simple: document everything, capture every surface, every angle, every microscopic detail. Let the data speak for itself. LiDAR works by firing laser pulses at a surface and measuring how long they take to bounce back. The result is a three-dimensional point cloud so detailed it can capture variations smaller than a millimeter. Every tool mark, every scratch, every imperfection gets recorded with surgical precision. They scan the trilithon. They scan the quarry. They scan the unfinished megaliths still lying in the hillside. Terabytes of data poured in. More information about Baalbek's stones than had been collected in the previous 2,000 years combined. Then they fed it to the AI. The algorithms had been trained on hundreds of ancient construction sites. Roman quarries in Italy and North Africa, Egyptian limestone excavations, Greek marble works, prehistoric megalithic structures across Europe. The AI learned to recognize tool signatures, the unique marks that different technologies leave behind. Bronze chisels create one pattern, iron tools create another. Modern diamond saws leave yet another. Signature entirely. When the AI analyzed Baalbek's quarry, it found something unexpected. Multiple tool signatures, not just Roman-era tools, but marks that did not match anything in the training database. What the AI found. The findings that emerged from the AI analysis were not what anyone expected. Some areas of the quarry showed cutting patterns with a mechanical regularity that is nearly impossible to achieve by hand. Human beings working with chisels and hammers produce variation. Fatigue sets in. Angles shift slightly. Pressure changes. The result is always irregular at the microscopic level, even when the macro result looks uniform. But certain sections of Baalbek's quarry showed consistency that suggested something else entirely. Other sections displayed surface characteristics, suggesting heat, microscopic changes in the limestone's crystalline structure that occur when stone is cut or polished with enough friction to alter it at the molecular level. Hand tools do not generate that kind of heat. Not consistently. Not across meters of surface area. Then the AI examined the trilithon blocks themselves, focusing on the contact points where one 800-ton stone meets another. The deviation from perfect flatness measured less than half a millimeter across surfaces spanning several square meters. Half a millimeter, over multiple square meters, on stones weighing 800 tons each. Modern construction achieves that tolerance with laser levels and computer-guided cutting equipment. Ancient Rome had neither, yet someone did it. The research team decided to test something ambitious. They built physics simulations to model how the stones could have been transported from quarry to platform. They programmed in every known ancient technology: wooden rollers, rope systems, ramps, lever mechanics, pulleys, counterweights. They gave the simulation generous assumptions, probably more generous than reality would allow. Then they let the AI try to find any combination of methods that could successfully move an 800-ton block. It ran thousands of simulations, different configurations, different manpower levels, different techniques. It tried teams of 10,000 workers, then 20,000, then 50,000. It tested shallow ramps and steep ramps. It modeled elaborate pulley systems that would make Archimedes proud. It even tested hypothetical technologies slightly more advanced than anything documented from the Roman era. Every single simulation failed. Ropes snapped, rollers crushed, ramps collapsed under their own weight. The physics were merciless. Either the forces required exceeded what ancient materials could handle, or the manpower needed surpassed the entire population of the region. One researcher, speaking anonymously to a German engineering journal, described the moment they realized what the data was telling them. "We built this model to show how it was done. Instead, we proved it could not be done." That is not a conclusion. That is a problem. The global pattern emerges. The research team made a decision that would change everything. If Baalbek was an isolated anomaly, it could remain a fascinating mystery, a one-off enigma that defied explanation, but demanded no broader revision of historical understanding. But what if it was not alone? What if other sites showed the same signatures, the same impossible precision, the same inexplicable construction methods? They fed the AI data from over 40 ancient megalithic sites scattered across the globe. The Great Pyramid and Sphinx at Giza, Pumapunku in Bolivia,
The mysterious ancient ruins of Pumapunku, spread across a desert plateau.
Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Sacsayhuaman in Peru, Stonehenge in England, the Karnak stones in France, the submerged structures off Yonaguni in Japan, sites separated by oceans, built by cultures that supposedly never met, never traded, never shared a single word. The algorithm was not looking for identical construction techniques. That would be absurd. Instead, it searched for deeper patterns, correlations in geometry, material selection, astronomical alignments, construction principles, the kind of patterns human researchers might miss because they are examining individual trees instead of the entire forest. What came back was statistically significant and deeply strange. First, the AI found that megalithic sites clustered around specific latitudes far more often than random chance would predict, particularly 30 degrees north, 34 degrees north, and along the equator. These are not arbitrary numbers. They are positions where solar and celestial observations yield mathematically significant angles. Baalbek sits at 34 degrees north. So does the entrance to the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid. So does the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Coincidence seemed increasingly implausible. The AI calculated the probability of this clustering occurring by chance at less than 2%. Second, many of these sites incorporated stones weighing between 50 and 200 tons when smaller blocks would have worked just fine structurally. The choice to use megaliths was not about engineering necessity, it was deliberate, as if the massive scale itself carried meaning beyond simply holding up walls. Third, certain angles appeared again and again across unrelated cultures. 23.5 degrees, Earth's axial tilt. 51.8 degrees, the slope of the Great Pyramid. 19.5 degrees, connected to tetrahedral geometry. These angles serve structural functions, but their consistent recurrence suggested something more. A shared geometric language, a blueprint encoded in stone rather than written in books. The disturbing dates. Then came the truly unsettling part. The AI's age estimation algorithms, which analyze erosion patterns, lichen growth, chemical weathering, and other deterioration markers, started returning dates that contradicted conventional archaeological timelines. Not by decades, not by centuries, by millennia. Göbekli Tepe, already officially dated to 9600 BCE and recognized as the oldest known temple complex, came back with probability clusters suggesting portions might be even older. The Sphinx, long debated for water erosion patterns that would require a climate far wetter than existed during Egypt's Old Kingdom.
Here's the Sphinx in front of us with the Pyramid of Khafre behind.
Returned estimates centered around 10,500 BCE. The Yonaguni structures, dismissed by many as natural rock formations, showed tooling marks the AI classified as artificial, and their depth underwater implied they were built when sea levels were 40 meters lower, which last occurred at the end of the last ice age. And Baalbek. The AI's median estimate for the trilithon's construction placed it around 9,400 years ago, thousands of years before Sumer, before writing, before agriculture in the Fertile Crescent, before any known civilization supposedly capable of moving 800-ton stones with millimeter precision. The pattern was becoming clear. These sites might share more than just construction techniques. They might share an origin, a technological and cultural framework that predates recorded history. A civilization lost to time, buried under millennia of sediment, climate change, and collective amnesia. But the AI found something else, something darker. The catastrophe pattern. When the team cross-referenced construction dates with paleoclimate data, geological events, and archaeological evidence of societal collapse, a disturbing correlation emerged. Megalithic construction surges did not happen during stable, prosperous times. They happened right before catastrophe. Göbekli Tepe was built around 9600 BCE, just before the Younger Dryas period ended, with rapid, violent climate change that transformed entire ecosystems within decades. The major construction phase at Giza, if the alternative dating holds any truth, occurred just before massive sea level rises drowned coastal civilizations worldwide. Punku thrived right before prolonged drought devastated Andean highland cultures around 1000 CE. Even Rome's expansion at Baalbek happened during the Roman warm period, a climate optimum that preceded colder, harsher centuries that contributed to the empire's fragmentation. Every time humanity built monuments on a massive scale, collapse followed, not during the building, after. As if the megaliths were final statements, last testaments carved by civilizations that sensed their own ending approaching. The AI could not prove causation. Correlation is not causality, but the pattern was undeniable. Build big, fall hard, forget, rise again, diminished. Scientists working on the project started calling it the Baalbek pattern, a cycle of brilliance followed by disappearance. The term spread through research circles quietly, mentioned in emails and late-night conversations, but rarely published. Then someone asked the question nobody wanted to ask. What happens if we run the algorithm on current conditions? What happens if we look at our own civilization through the same lens? That is when everything stopped being academic. The technology that vanished. If the Baalbek builders possessed technology capable of moving 800-ton stones with precision rivaling modern machinery, where did it go? Technologies do not simply vanish, they leave traces. Broken tools get discarded in refuse piles. Techniques get written down, taught to apprentices, improved over generations. Yet at Baalbek, the quarry went silent mid-project, and no culture in the region ever demonstrated anything close to that capability again. Engineers have spent decades trying to reverse engineer plausible ancient methods. Every attempt runs into the same brutal wall: physics. Wooden rollers would need to be massive, at least a meter in diameter, to distribute the weight without splintering. Moving an 800-ton stone would require 30 to 40 rollers arranged in sequence. The friction means each meter of movement needs a pulling force equivalent to about 15% of the total weight. That is 120 tons of continuous force. To generate that force with rope, thousands of workers would need to pull in perfect synchronization. But rope itself becomes the problem. Hemp and flax, the strongest natural fibers available to ancient cultures, have tensile strengths around 1,000 kilograms per square centimeter. A rope thick enough to handle the load would be so heavy that much of the pulling force gets wasted just dragging the rope. The AI simulations tested every combination. They modeled 50,000 workers using rollers, ramps, and levers together. The virtual stone moved 3 meters over 2 simulated months before a roller failed, triggering a cascade collapse. At that pace, moving one stone 500 meters would take over 7 years. The trilithon is 3 stones. The entire platform contains dozens more megaliths. The timeline collapses under its own weight. Some researchers propose lost engineering solutions that are not magic, just more sophisticated than conventional archaeology credits ancient cultures with developing.
The field work is one of the best aspects of archaeology. So you get a lot of travel and you learn about different cultures.
Counterweight systems using water or sand as dynamic load balancers. Acoustic resonance techniques that reduce friction through vibration. Early hydraulic systems using sealed bladders or chambers to generate immense lifting force through fluid pressure. None of these ideas violate physics. They just require knowledge that supposedly did not exist yet. The human element. Today, Baalbek exists in a kind of suspended reality. The Roman temples still stand, barely, after 2,000 years of earthquakes, wars, and weather. Conservationists work year-round stabilizing columns, reinforcing structures, preventing further collapse. It is painstaking, underfunded work carried out against a backdrop of regional instability that makes long-term planning nearly impossible. Lebanon itself is fragile. The economy has collapsed multiple times in recent years. Electricity comes and goes. Fuel shortages are routine. Political deadlock is the norm. Yet the people who care for Baalbek keep showing up. They measure, they document, they guide occasional tourists through ruins that have outlasted every government, every conflict, every crisis the Bekaa Valley has endured. One local guide, whose family has lived near the site for 6 generations, speaks about the stones with a mixture of pride and resignation. His great-grandfather told him stories passed down from his own great-grandfather, always the same core truth. The stones were here before Rome, before Christ, before anyone could remember. We do not know who built them, he says, standing in the shadow of the Trilithon, but we know they will be here after we are gone. Archaeologists working at Baalbek talk about the site differently than they talk about other ancient structures.
Baalbek, two name, Baal mean God and Bek mean valley, valley of the God. Phoenician and Arabic name Baalbek, Greek.
There is no excitement in their voices, no pride of discovery. Instead, there is something closer to unease. One German researcher, part of the LiDAR survey team, described it as working inside a question we are not sure we want answered. Another was more direct. Every time we learn something new about Baalbek, it makes human history feel smaller, not older, smaller. Like we are looking at a photograph of something much larger, but we can only see one corner of it. The stones of Baalbek have watched empires rise, civilizations flourish and kingdoms crumble, yet they remain unmoved, silent, and patient. They hold no theories, no answers, no agendas, only questions that grow louder the longer we stare. What patterns have we failed to recognize in our own civilizations? What truths lie buried in monuments we cannot fully understand, waiting to force us to confront history we think we know? Baalbek reminds us that brilliance and collapse are intertwined, that human ambition leaves traces far beyond our comprehension, and that some lessons only reveal themselves across millennia. The story is far from over. The stones are still speaking. And when we finally learn to listen, what we discover could force us to rethink not just the past, but the trajectory of our own world.